injured today while clearing munitions left behind by departing Palestinian fighters. The accident occurred shortly after the French moved in with Lebanese army soldiers to take control of the main crossing point between Christian East and Muslim West Beirut. The Muslim militiamen, known as the Murabitoun, who had controlled the crossing, departed peacefully after a brief ceremony. It marked the return of Lebanese authority. French bulldozers immediately set about the task of clearing away tank barriers and allowing traffic to move smoothly between the two parts of the divided city. There was applause for this sign of pre-war normalcy. Hal Walker, ABC News, West Beirut.
Top U.S. foreign aid official Peter McPherson left for Lebanon today to see what needs to be done to help rehabilitate that war-torn nation. Meanwhile, the PLO fighters and their leaders who have left Lebanon continue to disperse to other Arab countries. We have two reports. First, Greg Dobbs in Tunisia.
For a week and a half, Tunisian authorities have been preparing the Palestinians' camp, and for the past few days putting up Palestinian posters, so that today they could welcome more than 1,000 evacuees and show the world that support for the PLO extends well beyond the heart of the Middle East. Leading the show was the nation's moderate and Western-leaning president, Habib Bourguiba. Watching were men who once lived in the land for which they've been fighting, and others who have never set eyes on it. One man who saw this group leaving Lebanon said at the time they had the look of death in their eyes. But now, after a full week on the Mediterranean, they have returned to their familiar chant, "We shall return to fight again." In fact, the first men off after the injured were the officers, and they were still armed with the weapons with which they had fought in Lebanon. The rank and file, meanwhile, came off with nothing more than baggage in their hands, although some secretively showed small sidearms in their belts. Their reception through this port city was exceptional, but that doesn't change the fact that for these fighters the welcome was brief, for they were soon on their way to their camp in rural Tunisia, where they are bound to feel impossibly far from their fight. Greg Dobbs, ABC News, in Bizerte, Tunisia.
This is Chris Harper in Damascus. George Habash is the first major Palestinian leader to leave Beirut. He made the journey today with nearly 700 Palestinian guerrillas aboard the Santorini to the port of Tartus in northern Syria. Habash is scheduled to arrive in the Syrian capital of Damascus tomorrow. Some 3,000 Palestinians greeted Habash in a colorful ceremony at the port. Habash is the head of the Popular Front to the Liberation of Palestine, a leftist faction of the PLO known in the early 70s for hijacking airplanes. A pediatrician by training, Habash is the most well-known Palestinian leader besides Yasser Arafat. Chris Harper, ABC News, Damascus.
The future of the PLO and the prospects for a Middle East peace after the PLO leaves Beirut will be discussed with King Hussein of Jordan tomorrow morning on This Week with David Brinkley. That's at 11:30 Eastern Time.
The news from the Bell system: any business with 40 telephones to 25,000 can start with the Dimension PBX and build an integrated information system. New add-on functions let you combine voice and data, manage energy, centralize message handling, distribute communications benefits, and carry over much of what you have when there's a new generation of Bell business systems to install. Talk to your Bell account executive about it. The knowledge business.
Your father gave it to you for your 5th birthday. Now it's your turn to pass it on. Any spray paint could make it red again, but Rust-Oleum, with an average of 50% more protective ingredients than its nearest competitor, can do more. Its protective formula not only prevents rust, but gives metal better protection against chipping and peeling. So if what you're painting isn't ordinary, why should your paint be? Rust-Oleum. Any metal worth painting is worth protecting.
A young former congressional page, Leroy Williams, rocked official Washington earlier this summer when he accused some members of Congress with using illegal drugs and having sex with teenage pages. Williams was back in Washington today, but this time with a different story. Carol Simpson has details.
Special Counsel Joseph Califano spent more than 3 hours taking sworn testimony from Leroy Williams under tight security. Later, Committee Chairman Louis Stokes said Williams confessed he lied about homosexual relations with congressmen. But Stokes said the investigation would remain wide open.
Mr. Williams' allegations were only one part of our investigation.
Williams' attorney Bob Scott admitted investigators spent 12 hours in seclusion with Leroy before he changed his story. but he denied any deals were made.
I do not think there was any coercion or any promise or any anything other than Leroy needing to get this burden off his back.
The ordeal for Leroy Williams may be over, but the whole issue of sexual misconduct by members of Congress may not be over. There are other pages and other allegations Ethics Committee officials say they still plan to investigate. Carol Simpson, ABC News, Washington.
In New York City today, a 67-year-old man with alleged ties to organized crime was charged with last Wednesday's murder of Nathan Maselli, a witness in the grand jury investigation of Labor Secretary Raymond Donovan. Salvatore Ordinero surrendered when he learned police had linked him to a car used in the Maselli killing. Ordinero has pleaded innocent.
Come drive new shape of Chevrolet.
Celebrity.
Chevrolet's newest and largest front-wheel drive. A shape so aerodynamic, it requires less than 12 horsepower to cruise at 50 miles per hour.
Celebrity.
The comforts of a larger car. The precision of front-wheel drive.
During Chevy's factory-authorized clearance, special allowances to dealers make possible savings of hundreds of dollars.
Roger Staubach for Rolaids.
How do you spell relief?
R-O-L-A-I-D-S. I hate to admit it, but I eat a lot of greasy foods.
For acid indigestion, I spell it R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
Rolaids really does spell relief.
Like a sponge, Rolaids antacid medicine consumes 100% of the acid required to give millions 100% relief.
For millions of Americans, Rolaids spells 100% relief.
Enter the Rolaids Relief Man sweepstakes. Entry blanks at your local store.
The high cost of prosecuting a mass murder. Monday, watch ABC's World News Tonight.
A U.S. Army private from St. Louis, Missouri, Joseph White, today crossed into North Korea from his post in the South. Military authorities fear he may have defected, but they're investigating the possibility he was abducted by 10 North Korean soldiers. In the popular electronics game Pac-Man, Pac-Man gobbles up his targets. Today, the feminist forces who were defeated in their long campaign for the Equal Rights Amendment got moving on something called Pac Women, with targets in the political arena. Susan King reports.
They are calling themselves Pac Women, Los Angeles ERA supporters marching to raise money for so-called Now PACs, political action committees which will fund women's rights candidates. In Washington, some ran, but most Pac Women walked 10 miles to raise more than $100,000. In 65 different cities, this scene will be repeated in Now's grassroots effort to raise $3 million to defeat politicians who beat ERA.
Because we learned one thing in the ERA campaign that we'll never forget, that we'll never be in a position of begging again. We want our own.
Now could have one of the largest campaign war chests this November. Politicians who voted against ERA will find ERA money backing opponents. Take Governor Jim Thompson's re-election campaign. Thompson, a popular Illinois leader, refused to link his reputation with the amendment. Thompson's early and wide lead eroded following ERA's defeat. Polls show women switched from Thompson to his opponent, Adlai Stevenson. The equal rights fight didn't end with the amendment's defeat. After fashioning a respected political machine, Now switched its focus from backing an issue to backing candidates, a strategy some political observers expect could make the difference in a close race. Susan King, ABC News, Washington.
That's our report for tonight. For ABC News, good night.
The Weekend Report is a presentation of ABC News.
When William Shatner is back as T.J. Hooker.
Well, if it's war they want, war they're going to get.
And his career is on the line. T.J. Hooker back on Saturday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain, 1 week from tonight.
This program has been pre-recorded for presentation at this time.
General Electric Broadcasting, Nashville. From Nashville, this is NewsWatch 2 at 10.
Good evening, everyone. At the top of our late report tonight, the teenager who stirred up Washington with tales of homosexuality says it was all make-believe. The House Ethics Committee met in executive session today to hear testimony from former congressional page Leroy Williams. Later, Chairman Louis Stokes read a statement about the committee investigation into homosexuality and drug abuse on Capitol Hill.
Leroy Williams spent nearly 4 hours before the House Ethics Committee. He repeated his earlier public statements that he had lied about having homosexual relations with 3 members of Congress. Williams was kept away from reporters, but his attorney, Robert Scott, said his client made up the stories about illicit sex and drug dealing at the Capitol because he wanted to improve the conditions under which the teenage Capitol pages worked.
Well, the attempt to force change, I guess. I think that's probably the most important aspect. Is what he was trying to do is make it so big and so significant that somebody's got to pay attention to what's happening to the paging system, to the pages.
Ethics Committee Chairman Louis Stokes said Williams' admission that he had lied about sexual contact with members of Congress will not end the committee's investigation.
Mr. Williams' allegations were only one part of our investigation. The committee's investigation will continue, both in the area of improper or illegal sexual conduct and the illicit use or distribution of drugs under House Resolution 518.
Larry Matthews, ABC News, Washington.
A bipartisan outcry greeted President Reagan's decision today to veto a $14 billion supplemental spending bill. Reagan announced the veto in a midday radio address from his California ranch. Leading Republicans in Congress have already said they'll try to override that veto. And Democrats say an override sounds good to them, although Senator Alan Cranston of California admits it will be hard to obtain the necessary 2/3 majority in both houses. In his address, Reagan told the nation that the bill was nearly $1 billion over budget and that a tight rein must still be kept on federal spending despite the improving signs of the economy. Dissatisfaction was expressed for Tennessee's chief executive today as the Tennessee Labor Council endorsed Democrat Randy Tyree for the November election. The council's endorsement represents more than 100,000 voters and comes after 2 days of interviews with both candidates. Governor Alexander arrived for his interview this morning. A council spokesman said the governor stressed his open line of communication with labor. But when the final vote was taken, it was clear that Tyree had been the favorite. Some of the state's most prominent Democrats met here in Nashville today to talk over party unity and vote on party politics. The occasion was the gathering of the state's Democratic Executive Committee. On the agenda was a show of loyalty and support from Senator Annabelle Clement O'Brien and a resolution proposed by gubernatorial hopeful Randy Tyree. Tyree said that any Democrats jumping the tracks to support Republicans are uncalled for and unwanted. This resolution would prevent any Democrat who politically endorses a Republican from ever running on the party ticket in the future. Tyree said the measure is healthy for his party. It won unanimous approval from the committee. A budget dispute is keeping the doors locked at all 19 schools in Bradley County. The schools were scheduled to open last Monday, but school board officials say that it doesn't have enough money to open, and it's now called for a meeting with the county commission. The commission says the school board does have the money and refuses to meet. Meanwhile, State Education Commissioner Robert McAlrath says the school system has been piling up a huge debt since 1980 to the tune of $270,000. The school board has until September 15th to map out a plan to eliminate that debt. A delegation from Taiwan will be arriving in Tennessee next month to sign contracts to buy $100 million worth of the state's agricultural products. The first stop will be in Memphis, where the Taiwanese are expected to buy 300,000 bales of raw cotton. Their next meeting will be here in Nashville to buy thousands of tons of soybeans and flu-cured tobacco. Governor Alexander credits the sales on state cultivation of overseas markets, especially areas where agricultural techniques aren't as advanced as they are in the United States. A lot of people think that the biggest key to good crop growth is top-quality soil, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. Scientists are now developing a way to grow crops without dirt. It may become a future gold mine and one solution to world hunger.
They look like Quonset huts, but they could actually be part of the answer to the world hunger dilemma. Hydroponic greenhouses, where plants grow without any soil. That's right, with just water and fertilizer, seeds are actually taking root in these open cell blocks.
And that block is seeded, it's deposited on our seedling table in water. When germination occurs, then we add minute quantities of fertilizer to the water, and gradually we'll build up the fertilizer strength so that it will be the environment that the plant is going to have in the greenhouse.
Essa Carlson, who helped develop these $50,000 greenhouses, has watched these plants grow into profits. Botanically trained workers help speed pollination and germs from outdoors are kept to a minimum.
Since we are growing plants without any medium of any sort, we have no soil-borne diseases. Therefore, it's foolish to gamble by bringing something in from the outside.
About 6 weeks after transplanting, the tomato plants look like this, and they bear nearly perfect tomatoes. No sign of bugs, no sign of plant disease of any kind. The crop includes seedless cucumbers that can be eaten peel and all, and lettuce with more nutritional value than the iceberg variety, all available year-round. The asking price is a little higher, but a few grocery stores and a food wholesaler appear willing to pay. Ultimately, though, the developers want to take this system to countries where the soil and climate are hostile. In fact, they're already negotiating with Nigeria to make hydroponics a profitable overseas venture as well. Kathy Midkiff reporting.
A Rutherford County woman is in jail in Missouri tonight after being arrested at her experimental farming operation. Officials charged Deborah Potenza of Smyrna with felony possession of marijuana. Officers swept through a field of 14-foot marijuana plants in the rugged Ozark Mountains. Police confiscated 970 plants worth about $300,000 on the streets. Guards in Red Bay, Florida are guarding almost $20 million of marijuana tonight. They're posted around the secluded 80-acre field to make sure no one harvests the 14-foot plants. State workers wearing white coveralls and masks spent 2 hours spraying the pot with the weed killer paraquat. The plants should be dead by Monday, at which time the workers will gather them and burn the crop. Coming up on NewsWatch, New York police have arrested the man believed to be responsible for some gangland-style slayings. We'll add details when we return.
You want something better, healthy food is on your mind. Wendy's does it better, that's why you're Wendy's kind of people. You'll find our salad bar deliciously complete. 12 garden fresh ingredients, yeah, all you can eat. That's why you're Wendy's kind of people. You want something better, you're Wendy's kind of people.
Now, the revolutionary new sweetener discovery you've heard about is here. Introducing Equal.
A news story in the Washington Post reports, goodbye saccharin, sugar, and calories.
A story in the Chicago Sun-Times reports a taste virtually indistinguishable from sugar.
New low-calorie Equal tastes like sugar, and it's made without saccharin, so it has no bitter aftertaste.
Sensational.
Welcome to the sweet life of Equal.
An East Nashville man is being held in the Metro Jail tonight, charged with the shooting death of his stepfather. Police say it was here, in the front yard of this apartment on South 5th Street, that Thomas Eugene Fitz was shot in the head and the back. The incident occurred about 1:30 this morning, and Fitz died shortly thereafter at General Hospital. Police say 22-year-old Billy Wayne McCormick had pulled the trigger. According to officers, the two had just returned from an evening of drinking when the argument broke out and the shooting occurred. In New York today, 67-year-old Salvatore Ordinero turned himself in to the Bronx, New York District Attorney General. He was charged with second-degree murder in the killing of Nathan Maselli, a witness and son of a witness in the FBI's probe of Labor Secretary Raymond Donovan. Maselli was gunned down Wednesday night as he drove his car on a Bronx street. The suspect is described as a retired man with alleged ties to the Gambino crime family. Officials say they're still looking for 2 accomplices in the shooting. The young Maselli was the second witness in the Donovan investigation to be murdered this summer. Maselli's father, William, a reputed mob figure, has been transferred from an upstate prison to New York City to testify. Friday, the FBI moved him to a protected cell following reports that he is on an underworld hit list. In Lebanon tonight, the PLO evacuation is continuing. 600 more guerrillas are leaving West Beirut for Syria, and another 1,000 are arriving in Tunisia. After 8 days, more than 7,000 soldiers have been evacuated from the city. PLO chief Yasser Arafat, who was supposed to have left Beirut today, held off his departure until Sunday. He wanted to make one more visit to PLO soldiers in the city who are still waiting for their turn to leave Beirut. 3 Soviet cosmonauts, including a 34-year-old woman, returned to Earth yesterday after a mission that lasted more than a week in outer space. Barbara Corson has details.
After spending the last 8 days in space, the Soyuz T-5 travelers landed safely in Soviet Central Asia. Returning to Earth, the 3 Soviet cosmonauts claimed new scientific information. Svetlana Savitskaya, the 34-year-old woman aboard, dispelled any doubts about females enduring the stress of spaceflight. The medical tests conducted showed no sexual differences in reactions to space. The mission complete and successful, and a warm welcome rewarding the return back to Earth. Barbara Corson, ABC News.
Lots of clouds, but no rain. That was the order of the day today. Jill McSweeney will explain what it all means when we come back.
The biggest thrill of Atari at McDonald's is winning. 50 deluxe home computer and video centers, 200 Atari Centipede games, 1,200 Atari home computers, 10,000 Atari home video games, as well as millions of McDonald's food prices. Purchase of Chicken McNuggets required to redeem food prices. Just scratch the card and match 2 dots without getting zapped. Sometimes you win, sometimes, because every card can be a winner. Taste the thrill of Atari. McDonald's.
Now, right now is your last great chance this year to put the hard sell price pressure on your Chevy dealer. Everything goes. Every Chevy car and truck in stock. Bring a trade, make an offer. It's time to go. See your Chevy dealer for exciting values, but act now. A great time to buy during the 82 model closeout at your Middle Tennessee Chevy dealer now.
Really didn't know what to believe today. Lots of clouds. Looked like it could have rained. Is that same sort of thing going to go on tomorrow?
Actually, the weekend is going to be improving, beginning with tonight. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit better than today.
Good.
See some more sunshine. Let's take a look at our current conditions. It's partly cloudy and 71. The relative humidity is at 90% right now. The winds are calm. The barometer is rising at 30.29. If we take a look at our radar picture, we can see skies are mostly clear all across Kentucky and Tennessee. We have a lot of cloud cover still over portions of the state, but we are going to see things gradually improve. Let's go on now and take a look at our satellite picture. And you can see here is Tennessee. As I said, we do have a few high clouds over the state, but we have a high pressure system which is starting to dominate almost all of the eastern half of the country, and that's going to mean a nicer day tomorrow. A look at the lows around the region show temperatures mostly in the low to mid 60, or excuse me, the mid to upper 60s and some 70s showing there. And here's a look at the highs today, mostly in the lower 80s. So we were a little bit on the cool side as far as our highs go. Here's a look at our own statistics from Nashville. It's a low of 67 today, a high of 82. Normals for the period are 66 and 88, and just a trace of precipitation in the past 24 hours. A frontal system did move through today to bring us that trace of precipitation. It now extends off the Atlantic coast all the way back down into eastern Texas, and it is producing some showers along it, stretching from North Carolina all along the Gulf Coast region. But right now, a high-pressure system is dominating our area, and it's going to continue to influence our weather, which is going to mean things are going to look pretty nice for us. But what happened, though, is this frontal system did move through. It brought some very cold weather up to the north, especially to the northeast, with temperatures ranging from the 30s to 40s earlier this morning, and set some record lows in many places. And that's expected to be the same thing tomorrow, with record lows again being set, temperatures dipping down into the 30s in many places. There are frost and freeze warnings out also in many of the states of the Northeast, such as Vermont and New York and portions of Pennsylvania. They're looking for it to get very cold. Meanwhile, though, back over here in the western portion of the country, we have had some very severe weather with 70-mile-an-hour winds reported in areas of Utah, and there are flash flood warnings in effect for portions of Utah, and they're expecting the same thing is going to be happening over in Colorado and Wyoming later on tonight with some heavy rains moving in there. Our forecast for tonight, though, looks very good. We're looking for partly cloudy skies tonight and a low of about 66 degrees. There we go. A little bit cooler, though. Tomorrow's forecast is going to be partly cloudy as well with a high of 86. Our winds out of the east at 5 to 10. Monday, partly cloudy, a low of 66, a high of 86. And Tuesday through Thursday, continuing with the partly cloudy conditions, lows in the 60s and highs in the upper 80s to about 90. The World's Fair forecast, a good day to go to the fair tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high near 86. Well, you definitely know that winter is on the way when we start talking about frost and freeze warnings and record lows being set.
Wouldn't think it this early, though, wouldn't you?
Hate to hear it.
Thank you, Jill. In sports, the U.S. wins against Taiwan, but loses to the Soviets, and the Georgia Bulldogs look ahead to their opening game. Jim Bonds will have details when NewsWatch continues.
I used to say Datsun, but I wanted better gas mileage. Now I say S, the Chevy S10.
I used to say Toyota, but I wanted more head and leg room. Now I say S.
I thought about Ford small truck, but I wanted V6 power.
Now I say S.
Come say S. Chevy S10's outselling every imported pickup. So see your Chevy dealer. He's got everything you ever wanted in a truck and a good deal more.
I used to say no. Now I say S.
Say yes. See your Middle Tennessee Chevy dealers now. When you're ready for basting, but your margarine's not.
Give it a little squeeze.
No ordinary margarine goes so easy on the barbecue as Easy Squeeze Parquet.
Joey called this morning.
So how's Joey? What's wrong?
Nothing.
Nothing? Our Joey called 2,000 miles. The kids are all right?
Fine.
Sally?
Fine.
The kids are fine. Sally's fine. So why did he call?
I asked him that too.
And why are you crying?
Because Joey said I called just because I love you, Mom.
Reach out and touch someone.
We're turning back the clock to the days when an Arby's roast beef sandwich was just 99 cents. The 99-cent sale, now through Sunday, August 29th at all participating Arby's.
An invitation to crime. There's nothing very ominous about this scene, except that this man is about to drop his keys. And with his house keys, his office keys, his car keys, a clear identification of who he is and where he lives. Everything needed to offer a perfect invitation to crime. AARP wants you to know what to do to prevent crime. For a free copy of our anti-crime guide, write AARP, Box TBW, Washington, D.C. 20049.
Not for everybody, but almost everybody. One, some good news. Local interest today. Yeah, some good news for the local fans and a little bit of bad news for the local Babe Ruth team. But let's get to it right now. First of all, let's take you to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where tonight the Nashville Sounds clinched the second half Western Division champion of the Southern championship of the Southern League. The Sounds beating the Chattanooga Lookouts tonight by a count of 10-7. So that clinches the championship for Nashville. They'll begin the playoffs next week against the first half Western Division champion. Now, earlier today, the Sounds left fielder Brian Dayette was named the Southern League's most valuable player. Dayette sporting a .285 average, and he has tied the club record with 34 home runs this season. He has 92 ribbies also. Just last night, Dayette was selected as the Sounds' most valuable player and the team's most popular player also. Now, big right-hander Stephen Weaver of Nashville also today named as the Southern League's best pitcher for 1982. Stephen with a 15-6 record on the season. In Little League Baseball news, the Nashville Nationals at New Hampshire for the Babe Ruth World Series. They played the finals up there today. They had to win one game to win it all. Instead, though, they didn't. They lost both games to Elgin, Illinois, losing the first game 6-5 when the Elgin team hit a two-run homer with 2 out in the 9th inning. Then they lost the nightcap 8-6. So a good bunch of guys. They played some great baseball in the Huntsville tournament and up in New Hampshire also. The first 2 losses today to Elgin. The team arrives back in Nashville at 12:15 tomorrow on a Piedmont flight. All the fans are urged to go out and show their support to the Nashville National Babe Ruth baseball team. Today at Williamsport, Pennsylvania, a scrappy team from Kirkland, Washington, upset perennial champion Taiwan 6-0 to take the Little League World Series.
Washington's Cody Webster records one of his 12 strikeouts against heavily favored Taiwan at the Little League World Series. A safety squeeze by Sean Cochran scores Mark Swain, and Kirkland leads it 1-0 in the third. A big 4th inning is begun by Mark Peterson with this long double up the power alley. The bases would then be loaded for Moose Adams, who stepped into the batter's box and singled to right to drive in the second run of the ball game. Swain then came to bat, and he singled almost to the same spot. It was 3-0. Kirkland made it 4-0, taking advantage of the weak Taiwan defense on this delayed steal. The ball goes into center field, and the run scores. Webster stepped to the plate and unleashed a 280-foot record home run to dead center, and the final score was 6-0, Kirkland, Washington, ending Taiwan's 5-year reign over the Little League World Series championship. Les Grobstein reporting.
Well, the Braves didn't beat Taiwan, but they beat the New York Mets, and that's about the same. Atlanta beating the Mets 4-3. That's the 12th consecutive loss by the men who play at Shea. Houston blanked the Montreal Expos 2-0. The Giants over Pittsburgh 4-2, and the Phillies down the Reds 7-1. In the American League, Boston nipped the Angels. The Jays over the New York Yankees 3-2. After 6, Kansas City leading the White Sox. That would put KC in first place should they hang on to win that game. The Orioles over the Texas Rangers 8-5. After 7, Milwaukee over the A's, and after 7 also Minnesota leading the Cleveland Tribe 7-0. Darrell Waldrop rolled to another victory tonight, taking the Busch 500 stock car race at Bristol, Tennessee. Waldrop, last year's NASCAR driving champion, scored a 4-car-length victory over this year's current point leader, Bobby Allison. It's a 4th straight Bristol race victory for Darrell Waldrop. As we said, Allison 2nd, Harry Gant 3rd, Labonte finished 4th, and Earnhardt 5th. A little more than a week before Georgia's opener against defending national champion Clemson, head coach Vince Dooley is not a happy man. The club held its final scrimmage before that game today. Dooley didn't see much he liked, and today Dooley says the Dogs wouldn't beat anyone on their schedule. Now, of course, all of that has to be taken with a grain of coaching salt. Georgia has the talent, including All-American candidate Jimmy Payne, who knows the importance of opening well against the Clemson Tigers.
Clemson would be a good start if we can go ahead and jump on them, and beat them. That'll be probably what unlocking the door for us, getting us started off on a great start. The SEC is going to be rough this year, playing against Mississippi. They got Mississippi State and Florida, they're always strong, so it'll be good to get started on winning foot.
For a team that's won back-to-back SEC titles, there are concerns at Georgia. John Lastinger gets the call to replace All-SEC quarterback Buck Bellew. The junior from Valdosta, Georgia, is, for the most part, untested in game-type situations. Lindsey Scott is now in the NFL. Among those hoped to fill the gap at wide receiver, this young man, Brentwood Academy's Jimmy Hockaday. But the biggest question mark at Georgia dances over the head of Herschel. With hand in cast, Walker will probably miss the first couple games. How will the team respond without its superstar?
We all look at it like this. We have to play a little bit harder, We will miss him because he's a big part of the offense, and he helps the defense out in his own way by, getting first down time after time. So we know we got to buckle down and play a little bit harder and just hope somebody else can step up and do his job.
Well, Georgia is one of 2 SEC teams listed in the Associated Press preseason football poll top 10 division. Pittsburgh's Panthers, even without Jackie Sherrill, picked to win it all in the preseason poll by the Associated Press, followed by Washington, Bama, Nebraska, and North Carolina. SMU is 6, followed by the Bulldogs, Penn State, Oklahoma, and Southern Cal. Going into tomorrow's final 18 holes at Akron, Ohio, Ray Floyd leads the World Series of Golf. Now, Raymond fired a 2-under par 68 today on the tough Firestone course. That gives him the only subpar score for 3 rounds, 208, 2 under par. He's 3 in front of this guy, actually 3 in front of Bob Shearer, and 5 ahead of this guy, Craig Stadler. Watson and Nicklaus both out of it, 10 shots back, 8 over par. Well, the United States basketball team came up shy today at the World Games in Cali, Colombia. Bob Wetlick, the former Ole Miss coach, now at Texas, coached the team, which most of the country's superstar names like Ewing, Sampson, Lee, and Brewer passed up. This was by far the best showing of any of the 3 American teams that toured overseas this summer. Vanderbilt's Jeff Turner played well. Here, Marquette's Glenn Rivers. Great assist to Turner, who slams it home, putting the USA on top by 4. And the club took its biggest lead, 61-55, on a 14-foot jumper by Florida State's Mitchell Wiggins. But the USA then got into foul trouble. Turner picking up his 4th here. 3 other big men also with 4 fouls. The Soviets outscored the USA 18-6 the next 6 minutes and took a 7-point lead on this basket by Anatola Mishkin. The USA rallied, cutting the lead to 1 point with 20 seconds left on a Jim Thomas free throw. And the USA team had a chance to win it, but this last-second shot by Rivers was off. Soviets won 95-94, capturing the World Basketball Games in Cali, Colombia. Robert, that will do it for a busy Saturday in sports.
We'll see you tomorrow at 5.
Okay. When we come back, you'll meet a 12-year-old who can make dreams come true with the touch of a button.
When I come to Hardee's, I expect something special. But today they have something really special.
How do you satisfy the appetite of a little boy and a big boy, too? With a Hardee's hot dog combo. For only $1.59, you can get a big, delicious hot dog with thick, meaty chili and onions, large soft drink, and fries. Now that's a full meal for only $1.59. You can't beat that any place in town.
The Blue Ridge Mountains and Milwaukee, Wisconsin are half a country apart. But to these guys, both places mean something great. The Blue Ridge Mountains mean bluegrass music, and Milwaukee means beer. Cold, crisp, old Milwaukee beer. And now, the smooth, golden light taste of old Milwaukee Light. Man, do they sound good together.
And old Milwaukee tastes as great as its name.
How would you like to turn a hobby into a profitable business? Well, that's exactly what a 12-year-old has done, thanks to a little bit of ingenuity and the fact that his father bought a home computer.
David Brown is a 12-year-old computer whiz with a business worth $20,000, thanks to his Apple II home computer and David's ability to use it. For 2 years now, starting at the ripe old age of 10, David's been collecting baseball cards. You might say this was his hobby, until last year when a home computer changed it into a thriving business.
One night we were discussing what would happen if we got a computer and what we could do with the computer for the baseball cards. Then my dad came home from a trip from Hawaii one day and he had bought a computer.
So David taught himself how to use the computer, and he programmed his 200,000 baseball cards. All kinds of information, the going price of each card, the quantity available, you name it, his computer has it. So now, David buys and sells his cards to major dealers throughout the country, and his ability to retrieve information about each and every baseball card, thanks to his computer bank, is known in every corner of the trade. But David's story does not end here. He signed up for a journalism class in his junior high school.
I saw that they were using just typewriters, and it was pretty slow. So I told the teacher we had just gotten computers, and I told the teacher that she should try to use computers for the paper.
The rest is history. David taught the teacher and the students how to use computers, and now the school newspaper is run off on a computer. David even won an award on an article he wrote on the future of computers in schools. His prediction?
You could put your homework on a small disk, and when you come to school the next morning, just stick it in a desk, and it'll correct your homework in 3 seconds.
Vic Lee reporting.
David also sees the days when teachers will be assigning homework on a computer, but in the meantime, he's helping his dad prepare his company's quarterly reports on the home computer. That's it for us tonight at 10. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon at 5.